today. So this month we're going to talk about some cat health and body system related things for cats.
Was that her talking or not? I can hear.
Everybody that's on has been on before and or done the registration form, is that right? Okay.
And then say yes.
Yes.
Yes, we're good, right? Okay. I was thinking I recognized everybody who was in there. So this month, our topics are going to cover some body systems, so some general like anatomy, body system stuff, some veterinary care, and a little bit about caring for older cats. We're kind of doing a few different health-related topics for our cats. So to start with body systems, and talk about different systems in the body. Do you guys know what are some body systems or organ systems that you guys know the names of? Anybody know any?
Digestive system.
Yep. The chat box keeps disappearing in here. The digestive system is
Nervous system.
nervous system, good.
Respiratory system.
Respiratory, yep. Because we're doing pretty good.
Circulatory system.
Yep, the circulatory system. All right. So yeah, so you guys guessed a couple of them. So there are 12 different body systems that are in cats and other animals, right? When we think about physiology. So which ones do you guys have? The digestive, nervous, circulatory, respiratory, right? So there's the skeletal system, right? So our bones. Muscular system, or the muscles. The integumentary system, which is your skin, like your outer covering. Respiratory, digestive, you guys knew those ones. The urinary system. Reproductive, circulatory. Those are like blood vessels. The nervous system. Endocrine, which would be like hormones. Lymphatic, which is an immune system. So there's several different ones. We're going to focus on 4 of them, and those kind of surprisingly, right? But those are 4 of the examples you guys knew and mentioned, right? So respiratory, digestive, circulatory, and nervous system are the 4 we're going to look at today. So we're going to start with the respiratory system and what it does. So the respiratory system's primary function is to supply oxygen to the body and remove carbon dioxide, right? So it's that gas exchange, so we get enough oxygen to our tissues. The primary organs in the respiratory system, right, are lungs, the other air passages, the diaphragm, and so those are going to be important in terms of helping to do the oxygen exchange. The respiratory system also helps with regulating body temperature, right? So we're going to change how we breathe when it's hot or cold. We're thinking about cats and dogs, maybe panting. And it has some role in our sense of smell, right? As we breathe through our nose and that sense of smell. So how the respiratory system works, right, is that we breathe in air, or your cat breathes in air through its mouth or its nose. And then that air passes through the pharynx, the larynx, right, and the trachea. So it goes down through your trachea to your lungs, right? So here's our trachea, and it's going to branch out into these bronchioles, and then it keeps branching out into further, smaller and smaller tubes, right? Our bronchioles and our alveoli are the really tiny ones. And that's going to help spread the air out within our lungs, right? And so the oxygen can pass from those into the lungs, and then it also picks up carbon dioxide, which is expelled out, breathed out, right? And that oxygen enters the lungs and then goes into the bloodstream. So it travels to the rest of our body and provides oxygen to our tissues. So are you guys all familiar, right, with how the respiratory system works to some extent before this, right? You all use it every day, right? So you kind of think about that oxygen exchange rate. That oxygen is important for our tissues and to maintain good health if that carbon dioxide didn't get breathed out, it would be toxic. Do you guys know what organisms use carbon dioxide, breathe in carbon dioxide, and then get rid of oxygen?
Trees.
Right, trees, right? Plants use that carbon dioxide, and so it helps to maintain that balance in the air. That's why, right, it's good to have plants around to produce more oxygen. All right, the second body system here in our group of four is the digestive system. So the digestive system, right, it helps the body break down food into absorbable components, that are the nutrients from our diet, and they're broken down and then absorbed through the digestive system so that we can use those in our bodies. Kind of cool, right? Cats' digestive systems are designed for an animal that's only eating meat as part of their diet. So we'll kind of look at their digestive system. I can tell you some differences between ours and theirs and other animals and theirs, right? But cats are a carnivore. They eat a high protein, really readily utilized diet to meet their needs. And so their digestive system is a little bit different because of that. So for most animals, right, the digestive system is kind of the same group of organs, but the sizes of them or the shape of them, how they function, it might be different based on their diet type, right? So it's kind of a tube, right, with different glands and things that breathe in. So it starts with the mouth of our cat, right? And then food travels down the esophagus, which is essentially just a tube that delivers food down to the stomach, which is right here, right? And then we have our small intestines and the large intestines, right, before it's expelled then out the anus. So there's also some glands that are part of this digestive system that secrete different things into the digestive system for it to work. So what happens is cats have a really big stomach for their body size, and that's because cats, right, they're going to kill some kind of animal, right, their prey. And so they eat a whole mouse at a time, right? So they need a big enough stomach to hold that in, and they start breaking down the proteins in their stomach. And then it goes through their small intestine where different enzymes, secretions occur. So things from the liver and the pancreas and the gallbladder all come into the small intestines. It breaks down all of the food. Then those nutrients are absorbed. So all that protein is absorbed. And then what's left over, right, that they couldn't break down on their own, travels through this large intestine. Cats don't use a lot of fiber from their diet. Their large intestine doesn't do a whole lot. And then it'll be expelled, right, as waste from the animal. All right, any questions about the cat's digestive system? No? If we looked at this in a different animal, it might look a little different. Humans, right, have a large intestine because we eat more plants than cats do. All right, the third body system we're going to kind of review tonight is the circulatory system. Right, the circulatory system is responsible for our blood flow through the body. So it's that blood that travels through the cat's body. So it carries blood right through the lungs to pick up the oxygen and then out to the cells and then back, right? So it's going to do exchange of gases, exchange of nutrients throughout the body. So the most important, right, organ in the circulatory system is the heart, and it pumps the blood. In cats, their heart rate is 125 to 130 beats per minute. Do you guys know if that's faster or slower than yours? Anybody have guesses?
Faster.
Yep, it's faster. Generally, smaller animals have faster heart rates than bigger animals. So it would be faster, right? If they're running, it can get even higher during physical activity, just like if we checked our heart rates, right? If we ran around, it increases. So yeah, the cat's is a little higher than ours would be. So here's a diagram, and this is really simplified diagram of the circulatory system in cats, right? So we're taking, it's going to carry blood, the arteries, right? We're carrying that oxygen-rich blood from the heart out to all the tissues, and then veins carry blood that doesn't have as much oxygen back to the heart and the lungs, right? So that we're having macronutrient exchange. Okay. And then we had one more body system that we were going to review tonight, and that's the nervous system. And the nervous system is important in gathering information, right, and storing information. So it consists of our brain, our spinal cord, right, and the network of nerves. So these nerves, right, are all through the animal's body. The brain, right, is obviously in their head, and then this spinal cord travels down their spine. And then they've got all these nerves that would serve as sensory organs within the body. The nervous system is important, right? It uses nerves in the body to detect signals, right? So they tell you how hard something is, how it feels when you touch it, if it's hot or cold, right? And those send the signal to the brain, and your brain decides how you should respond to that thing, right? And then it sends another signal through the nervous system to tell your muscles how to respond or how to act. So it's really important in controlling behavior, controlling how the animal responds. So right, cats have a smaller brain, obviously, than humans. And the frontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that helps us with speech and communication and some of those higher thinking, is smaller in their brain, right? So they can't do those things, but they do have a really good ability to learn. So, right, the nervous system is important for analyzing stimuli or things that it sees in the environment. So that stimuli would be anything in the environment that it might see. So, right, using those 5 senses. And then it decides what's the best response to ensure survival. So what's going to be the best option for that cat to do to survive, right? So what behaviors will be the most important, right? Should it run away? Should it fight? You know, is it shivering because it's cold and it wants to get warm? What's the best choice in behaviors for that cat, right? That nervous system helps to decide. Some of your cats might not always make the best behavior choices, right? But what should it do to be able to survive? Okay, so that brings us to our first activity worksheet. You guys should have that one in front of you. You guys have it. So let's take a little bit of time to finish that first worksheet right on body systems for everybody if they haven't done it yet. Hope you guys noticed that cat has a mustache. Right? Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna guess that the student who stuck that picture in there really enjoyed that cat's mustache too. No, I wonder about a student who puts all the pictures in for me. They get really excited. I think they try to throw in random pictures to see what I think of their cats they find. Yeah, cat pictures. All right, let me know when you guys finish up that worksheet and we'll go through those answers.
No, que tengo que
All right, is everybody done?
No.
Okay, we're getting a little bit longer.
Done.
There they are.
All right, let's go ahead then and get started going through those answers, right? So the first part is about our respiratory system. So the respiratory system's primary function is to supply what to the body?
Oxygen. Air.
Yeah, our oxygen, right?
Oxygen.
Yep, air, oxygen, good answers. And remove what?
Carbon dioxide.
Yep, carbon dioxide. This system consists of the, do you know what organ was missing? Yep, the lungs. So it consists of the lungs, the air passages, and
The diaphragm.
the diaphragm. Good job. Another function of the, oh, this is an easy one.
Respiratory.
Yep, another function of the respiratory system is to aid in the regulation of body
Temperature.
temperature. Good job. Right, so I'm going to read it all the way through with all the words in there, okay? The respiratory system's primary function is to supply oxygen to the body and remove carbon dioxide. The system consists of the lungs, air passages, and diaphragm. Another function of the respiratory system is to aid in the regulation of body temperature. Good spelling in there. I don't know if that was the person who's in the spelling bee, but. All right. So circle of those organs. You guys were supposed to circle which were parts of the digestive system.
The stomach.
Yep, the stomach is part of the digestive system.
Small intestine.
The small intestine. And then there's also the
Gallbladder.
gallbladder. Yep, so those were the three. The stomach, the small intestine, and the gallbladder are all part of the digestive system, right? The organs that would be missing were like the esophagus and the small intestine, or the large intestine, right? All right, and then the last one, right, was to label those diagrams of the different systems and what they came from. So, this one was the easy one because it says it on the picture, right? So this one here in the corner, the top left one, right, the digestive system. The top right one would be what system?
The nervous system.
Yep. What about the bottom left?
Respiratory system.
It was the lungs, right? So that's the respiratory system. And then the bottom right is which one?
Circulus.
Circulatory. Right?
Circulatory.
Good job. Okay. So the next kind of section, we're kind of doing some different topics in here all related to cat health. So our next section tonight is just some basics on veterinary care and what we would consider when we're thinking about vet care for our cats. I'm going to try to make the chat box come back up. It keeps disappearing. All right. So the first thing, right, when we're thinking about vet care is how we choose our vet. And we want to kind of consider this carefully, right, as you guys get older and get to have some choice maybe in what vet your animal goes to, right? There's a few factors we would want to consider, right? We would want to take it to a vet that's a convenient location for us, right? We don't want a vet that's really far from our house because if there's an emergency, you know, it might take us a long time to get there. So we want it to be someone who's close by enough that you can get to easily. You want to think about what times they're open, right? If you can get there, or if you need to go early in the morning or later in the evening, like does it work well for you and your schedule to get your pet into that vet? And then the big one, right, is making sure that you find a vet that you're comfortable with, that works well with your cat, that you like going to. So, how many of you guys have gone with your cats to vet appointments?
Me, I always go.
Yeah.
Me, if I don't have school.
Okay, lots of you have gone. How many of you gone to the vet with your cat? Yeah.
He always fights us first.
When you guys went, were there things like when you talked to the vet? Did you talk to the vet? Did you like the vet? Did they talk to you about your cat? Not
She's
really.
one of my best friends.
Okay. So we want to make sure, right, that it's someone that we feel comfortable talking to. I don't know if you guys know this, but for 4-H you can do veterinary science posters on different vet topics. So I know our vet has if one of Lauren has done them several times on top things that one of our animals has had, right? So she's gone in and then interviewed our vet about whatever thing it was. Our cat broke his leg, so she interviewed about our cat surgery to fix his leg and did a poster. So you can always do that, like if you have time to talk to your vet. If you want to compete in vet science, making a poster about it. So it's kind of a cool thing. So if your vet is really nice, they might be able to help you with that. All right, so once we find our veterinarian, we have the right one that we feel the most comfortable with. We want to think about something. So our cat should go to the vet every year for a checkup, right? And so your cat should go at least once a year. And during that checkup, there's several things that the vet will probably do, right? They'll do a physical exam. So they're going to look your cat over. So this is one of the reasons when we talk about showing our cat at the fair, we talk about showmanship, right? Is we want a cat that we can examine and look over and handle, because that's sort of mimicking that physical image your vet does.
Probably feel your cat.
Yep, so they're going to feel your cat, make sure there's no lumps or bumps or anything anywhere on your cat, right? They're going to look in his ears and make sure their ears are clean, that their nose looks good, right? That they're going to listen to their heart and their lungs and make sure they're breathing okay, that their heart rate is normal, right? So they're going to kind of look over your cat all over just to make sure everything is normal. Sometimes they'll ask for a fecal sample, right? So ask you to bring in your cat's poop, or they might need it if they think something might be wrong, or to check for worms if you have an outside cat. We've talked about those parasites in the past, right? So they can check for those in stool samples. Then depending on what's going on with your cat, why it's to the vet, right? They might take blood samples or urine samples from your cat. So I don't know, maybe none of you guys, my cat used to get urinary infections a lot, so we have to bring in samples of his pee, which is really tricky to get him to go in the box with no litter in it, right, to take it in. So sometimes you have to do those things. And then once a year, you might need to get your vaccinations or your boosters, right? So you might find your vet has to give your cat a shot, right? So they'll kind of pull up the skin and give them that vaccination. And we've talked about vaccinations in previous months, right? That those help to build the cat's immune system to prevent them from ever getting sick or getting a disease. Those are all kind of important things that your vet has to do when you go each year to get your cat looked at. And then the other thing we want to do is that we want to make sure that we notice anything that might be wrong with our cat, any potential signs of illness, and we can tell them to the vet. So when you guys are playing with your cat or grooming your cat or any of the things we've talked about, right, you want to look for any signs that something might not be normal with your cat. You know, I don't know how many of you guys clean your cat's litter boxes, right, but if you notice diarrhea or something has changed there, you would want to take them in. Any vomiting, right, if it's outside of normal. Runny noses, if their eyes, are bloodshot or kind of red. If their skin is dry. Any lumps or bumps, swollen areas. Things you want to look at their gums or their teeth, right? So you kind of look it over when you're handling your cat. And it's a good idea. You guys might interact with your cat more than your parents do. So if you do go to the vet with your parents and your cat, you might say like, hey, I noticed this thing on my cat when I was playing with them, and ask the vet to look it over. And so that can always be a good thing to do if you notice something that's maybe different or wrong. And your vet will obviously try to look for all of those signs as well, but it's good for you to pay attention too. Oh, someone raised their hand. I think that's from earlier. Yeah. If there was ever in a time where there was an emergency, right, where your cat needed emergency vet care, you want to take it to the vet right away. Sometimes we can do that during the day. If it's an emergency, we go to our regular vet clinic. Sometimes if it's at night, There's just always when emergencies happen with my animals, right? Is it's late at night or on a weekend. And then you might have to go to the emergency vet clinic. And so you want to know what your emergency vet options are if you have an emergency outside of normal hours. Right, so things that might require you to go, an emergency vet visit would be if a cat has a really high fever, right? They have signs of paralysis, right? They're not able to walk or move like normal. They've got bloody diarrhea or they've been vomiting a lot, right? Those are signs that maybe they've gotten it, they shouldn't. If you find an open wound, right? They got a bite or have a cut or something, right? Or you know that they ate something they shouldn't have that might be toxic. Those are all things that would make us want to go to the vet right away for emergency care, and so we want to pay attention to those things with our cats as well to make sure they're getting proper care and getting into the vet right away when we have a problem. Do you just know if you have an emergency vet clinic near you, or would if your vet, some vets do on-call hours? Southwest Lincoln, it's not the most important, right?
There we go.
Ours is in like our
Then take ours. My family go.
Go to Seward,
Yeah.
so it's just not the most convenient, but
it's like emergency drive like
all right. So that's going to bring us to our next activity, right? So our second activity is this one titled Veterinary Care. And there's a part 1 and a part 2 to it. So if you want to do those 2 pages and then stop there, and we'll kind of watch for when you get done with those. Oh, we all like your cat here. It's a cute cat.
It's adorable.
his name is Griff.
My vet's Amy Halsey.
All right, how are we doing on that worksheet? Are we almost done? We want a few more minutes?
You might want to stop it, yeah.
We all just want to look at cat.
Um,
Next month, I'll have to make sure they put pictures of my cats on the slides.
Pictures of mine.
I have some special pictures. I can put like some real goofy ones on there. I don't know if they'll be able to see here.
I'm done.
Okay.
I finished.
Good job.
Good.
All right, so we want to go ahead and we'll go through these, and if you're stuck on something, right, we can help fill you in on the options, right? So choosing a vet, right? So below is a description of what you're looking for in a veterinarian. So we're going to read through the options, and we're going to pick a vet that we think might be a good fit for us, and then maybe why we would want that. So if we're looking for a vet, right, that can provide the best care for our cat and is close to our house, You would like for their office hours to be longer in the afternoon or in the evenings, right? Maybe you work later in the day or you have after school stuff, right? And for the vet to be able to take emergency calls, and you want to be open on Saturdays. So,
Dr. Chen.
do you guys think Dr. Chen?
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Chin.
Why'd you pick Dr. Chen?
Because he's close to most of our houses, and he's open a long time, and he takes emergency calls at night.
Okay.
And he's open on Saturday.
Yeah. Anybody else pick somebody else?
I would have chose Dr. Smith, but the better choice was Dr. Chin.
Okay. Yep, so sometimes like they maybe don't always fit all of our choices. So we want to fit the one that's best for our options, right? And maybe for this case, right, he was a little bit further from our house than Dr. Smith was, but not too bad, and then met some of those other requirements. So the next activity, that part 2, is to decide if our statements are true or false, and if they're false, we're going to change the statements to be true. So true or false, your cat should get a yearly exam.
True.
True. A sign of well-being is diarrhea and vomiting.
False.
False. How would you change that sentence?
Clear eyes and
A sign of sickness is diarrhea and I don't remember.
Yeah. So a sign of illness is diarrhea and vomiting. What would be 2 signs of well-being or that your cat was healthy?
clear eyes and good appetite.
Clear eyes and good appetite.
Playful,
Healthy skin and hair.
Healthy skin and coat.
playful, healthy, happy.
Playful. They're acting happy. Right. They're going to the bathroom normally. Right. You guys picked a lot of good choices. So now we have a dog today.
Oh, down.
All right. A high fever is nothing to be worried about. Your cat will be fine in a few hours. What was that one? True or
False.
Incorrect.
false? Okay. How would you change that one?
A low fever.
Yep. A low fever or normal fever. Or you could just cross out most of the sentence, right? And a high fever would be a sign of
No,
never.
I did it.
Right. So yeah. Good job. All right, so our last kind of section for the night is caring for an elderly cat. How many of you guys have an older cat? Anybody have an older cat?
I do.
I used to. He lived to be 13. It was really, really awful because I had had him since I was 3 and he was 8, and he died about 2 years ago, and it was awful.
That's rough, right?
Yeah, it's 11.
You got an 11-year-old cat. My cat will be 7 this year. That's my older cat. All right. So when we think about elderly cats or older cats, a lot of times we start to think about cats as getting older when they hit about 7 to 9 is sort of when we start thinking about them being older or senior cats, where we might start having some other concerns in those cats. So when your cat hits that age, it's a good time to go to the vet and have that conversation about your cat being older. And then some things that we would maybe want to think about as our cats get older, right? They might have more requirements for different things to be done. Cats, when they get older, all cats are lazy their whole lives. So they don't usually get lazier as they get older. So you can kind of feed them a similar food, right? And kind of watch for some things there. Right, as our cats get older, right, there might be some more illnesses that we see in our cats that we might not have seen when they were younger. A lot of times older cats might need to be on medications if they do have some diseases. when you go to the vet, when they get older, they'll take blood and check their organ functions, right? So we might have to do medications to help them be more comfortable. So depending on what might be wrong with your cat, right, you can do things like giving them pills, mixing like canned cat food, or capsules, right? Or things like this is going to be one where it's a pill gun, right, that they're giving it into the mouth. It's sometimes trickier to give cats pills than other animals, so you have to be kind of careful about it. I always like to go the route of putting it in canned cat food if they will eat it. But yeah, your cat has to be excited about food. But older cats like canned cat food better because it has a stronger smell. So if their senses aren't as good, sometimes you can go ahead and get them to do that as well. If you're giving them a pill by hand, right, you're gonna kind of open their mouth. See how this person has their finger kind of in here to hold the mouth open. And then you're gonna tip their head back a little and put it in their mouth, kind of get it back as far as you can so they can't slide it out with their tongue. And then you can kind of rub their throat gently until they swallow it. And that's sort of the best way to get them to take a pill. Hopefully none of you guys have had to give cat pills. It's not a very fun job.
No, it's not.
Another kind of concern with cats as they get older, right, is dental health or their teeth. So a lot of times people don't get their cat's teeth cleaned all the time, so you only kind of wait as you get, a lot of times when they get older, their teeth aren't maybe in as good a shape. Again, a good idea when you're going to the vet is to have their teeth checked. You might have their teeth cleaned. Unlike you guys can go to the dentist and just sit still and have your teeth cleaned though. Cats have to be anesthetized or like made to sleep, right, so they're not moving or biting the vet, right, while they're getting their teeth cleaned. So it's a little bit more of a process with cleaning cats' teeth than it is yours. As cats get older, they might lose their teeth or break their teeth right over time. So we want to keep an eye on their teeth and make sure they're healthy. It makes it a little harder for them to eat if they've lost any of their teeth. And so we want to make sure if we notice any changes in their dental health, if they have a lot of tartar, that brown buildup on their teeth, right, that we take it to the vet. A lot of times older cats need softer foods because cats' teeth aren't designed for chewing a lot. In the wild, right, they would bite whatever they were eating and just sort of eat big pieces and not chew it up. So a lot of times if they're fed dry food, as they get older, their teeth might break or crack or have some issues. So we might want to do softer foods like canned food when they get older as well. Sometimes you might even need to use a diet that's designed specifically for senior cats if you see a lot of issues with your cat's teeth over time or changes over time. This cat doesn't seem very excited about its birthday cake. And then one of the big things to think about is the diet that we put our cats on as they get older. And so we can think of some changes in diet that might occur over time. Cats tend to have about the same activity level throughout their life. And so they don't need a lot more energy as they get older. In people and in dogs, we tend to be less active as we get older. And so our energy needs change quite a bit as we get older. Cats, it stays about the same, but their metabolism slows down. So what that means is that their digestive system doesn't work quite as well. So they're not always able to get as many nutrients from their food as they did when they were younger. So we want to watch the diet that they're on. A lot of times there's recommendations to increase the protein in their diet as they get older. And then we want to keep our cats from getting fat, right, as they get older. What they find is that cats from about 7 to 12-ish are most likely to get fat. And then once cats live past 12 or 13, then they start to lose weight and get really skinny. And so you have to kind of think about how you're feeding them and maintain that right weight, that they're not getting too fat. And then when they get older, that they stay the right healthy weight. So older cats tend to need lower calorie, but something that's easy to be digested, easier for them to eat. And so sometimes, again, we might need to switch to canned foods or adding some canned foods so it's softer, it's wetter, they're getting more water intake and more protein as they get older. So to watch their diet quite a bit as cats age or get older. Is anybody who has an older cat, do they eat a senior cat food or they eat a regular cat food? If your cat's still doing good, I would leave them on a regular cat food. But yeah.
But our other cat is bad.
Your other cat's fat? Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
My cat's a little fat too.
on my speech. He's just a little obese.
Yeah, just a little. All right. So,
It's surprising for he's an outside cat.
yeah. Mine moved from outside to inside and then got fat, so that's what we blamed it on. I keep saying it's her winter weight, but she's had it for a couple years. So that brings us to our last activity, which is this worksheet on caring for an elderly cat. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to fill that one in.
Done.
You're not done. So while we're waiting on the last couple people to finish up, last time, right, we talked about some different cat care things. We talked about like household hazards. Did anybody go look around their house for any potential hazards that they saw for their cats?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we talked about toys and like playing with your cats. Did anybody try to make a toy for their cat?
Our cats already have 10 million toys, but mine especially likes a little crinkled up ball of paper.
Oh yeah. So you kind of make them toys on a regular basis.
Mine too.
Do you know my cat's favorite toy is when my daughter leaves her homework on the table, he'll go take it and just shreds it into pieces. Not a good thing. She has to remember to put it in her backpack and zip it because he's pulled papers out of her backpack. And then he tears them up. Like it's just shredded.
When we get my cat balls, he'll throw them under the car wheels and they'll get smashed. So we never have them for very long.
Yeah. Somebody said they made cat toys and somebody tried the grass. And your cat likes them around.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Since he lives outside, it's a lot easier just to tie grass. And I've actually made like this, when the grass is really dry, it makes like when it's trying to reproduce before winter. I used all of those stalks with the cat, kind of like a cattail on it, and then tied them together, and it kind of looks very feathery, and then dragged it around. The one that lasted the longest lasted at least 1 minute and 30 seconds tops.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to get everybody finished up that worksheet. So let's go ahead and go through the answers on this one. So what were 3 ways that you could administer medicine to your cat?
You could just give it to them with your hand on your finger.
Right, so giving it by hand.
Pill gun or crushed. Or you could crinkle it up into their food.
Yeah, we can put it in their food, right? So is tooth loss common for older cats? Yep. I knew of someone who named their cat Tooth. What was one thing we could do to help with dental issues? What's something we could do for dental issues in our older cats?
You could change their hard food to wet food.
Right, we could switch to wet food. Somebody said getting their teeth cleaned right at the vet clinic. What's an adjustment that could be made when you're feeding your senior cat? What's the thing that you might want to think about their diet?
Don't underfeed.
Yeah, we don't want to underfeed.
Don't give it too much
Change
calories.
it to wet food.
Give it soft food instead of hard food.
Softer. Yeah, somebody said senior food, right?
Give them food
It's
to
easier for them to digest or break down. Right? We have a lot of good options there. Okay. Before I go to the survey, one more thing I wanted to talk about, and I know Adriana always has to leave early. It's just going to be my, is that we have coming up this companion animal challenge. It's here in Lincoln, Saturday, March 10th. The registration is due next week. But there's some different contests that you guys might be interested in doing related to your cats or entering, right? So there's a demonstration contest where you can give a speech or a talk. And if you're not here in Lincoln or you're further away, you can actually do that using Zoom. So the same thing that you're used to using, you can give your presentation that way. So you have a presentation. There's a couple dog specific ones. So if you guys are into dogs too, there's a skill-a-thon, which is sort of a hands-on one, and a quiz bowl if you have a team. Adriana has done the demonstration that's usually on. And there's also an art contest or a photography contest. So if you like have drawn a picture or painted a picture of your cat or another companion animal, you can enter those. Or photography, taking pictures of your cat, you can print those and enter those. So those are all options if you're interested in competing in that. I'm going to send the information, this link out to the parents, the people on my on my list for the cat club. But I wanted you to tell you about this. It's fun. It's like a morning here in animal science. You can kind of compete and do different stuff. So, but the registrations are due, I think, next week. So if your parents tell me you're going to do one, I'll get it. I won't shut it off. So I'll take it. So if you think about those things if you're interested.
What's the next meeting on?
Oh, we got to, let's see if that's on. I'm going to put the survey link in and then.
Okay, I have to go now.
Okay.
It's in privately, by the way.
Oh, shoot. That was just the one privately. Everyone. There's the survey link. Oh, they didn't have a slide with what our March, I'll look and tell you what the March topic is while you're filling that out.
Can you please email my mom, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The March topic, March 8th, we're going to do kittens and kitten care. So that's an exciting one. I bet there'll be lots of cute pictures.
Can I choose pictures? Or at least one?
If you have pictures of your cat as a kitten, they'll fit in there. Have your parents send me some pictures of your cat as a kitten. Anybody wants to send me kitten, cat pictures? Yeah, we'll look at it. You can talk to your parents to send them to me. All right, so once you finish that survey, I'll see you guys all next month then. You can send me your kitten pictures.